Papa Flammy's Advent Calendar.
Good morning, fellow mathematicians! Welcome back to another video. It's finally time yet again. As with every year for the past 3 years, I've been doing the Advent Calendar here on this channel. And it's finally starting yet again. And the next 1 minute of this video I'm going to spend explaining the Advent Calendar to you guys who are not yet familiar with this whole thing. But don't forget to check out today's sponsor, Wondershare, who were kind enough to sponsor this episode. Document Cloud is their newest program, okay, and it's implemented in PDF Element Pro 2. More information at the end of the video. It's actually a pretty good program if you handle a lot of PDFs all the time, just like I do. So the Advent Calendar, how does it work out? So as for the Advent Calendar, it's just like with the one where you open up the doors and there's going to be a little piece of chocolate or dildo in there, I don't know, okay, for each and every day up until the 24th of December. It's the same thing here. One video each and every day for the next 24 days. From the 1st of December to the 24th of December. And on the 24th of December there's once again going to come out something very nice. I can't wait for that. That's going to be an absolute burner. Trust me on this. But yeah, I hope you are going to enjoy the Advent Calendar because little videos ranging from 2 to 5 minutes. I keep saying this each and every year, but it just doesn't happen, okay? 20 to 30 minutes videos incoming all the time. But yeah, it's going to be quite fun. 24 videos for you each and every day. I'm going to start posting on the second channel for now, Flammable Maths 2. You can subscribe to it because there would just be too much video spamming. I don't want to spam you guys with videos. I just want to post each and every day. Other than that, you're going to get 10 to 15% of everything on my personal Teespring shop each and every day up until the end of the year. The reduction depends on a certain pattern that I put onto the reduction thing. Okay, 10 to 15%. So keep an eye out on the whole collection that we have there, all of the collections. And also over on STEM Merch we are also going to do an Advent Calendar. Each and every day there's going to be a different product or product range reduced, and today we are going to start off with the face masks. Each and every face mask is reduced by 10% over on STEM Merch. So check it out up until the end of the day, and after that there's going to be a new Advent Calendar door going to be open up on STEM Merch. And now we're going to dive into the main video. So a while back we have talked about the complete elliptic integral of the first kind, and today we're going to do a PyMath episode because we want to implement what we have here into Python. Does look scary at first, but if you followed through all the videos I have done on this channel, it's not going to be really scary. So let us go through the theory at first, and then we are going to dive into the Python part after talking about how the implementation is going to work. So at first we started with a simple pendulum without any friction. It's just going to be a rigid pendulum swinging with an initial displacement of phi naught. And this thing had this very differential equation that we wanted to solve in some way. And the solution to this thing was the period time. You can find all the relevant links down there in the description. And the period time has been defined by 4 times square root of the length of the string or the rigid stick. Okay, our mass is attached on, divided by the gravitational acceleration. Really depends on the planet you are on. Okay, for us on Earth it's just pi squared. And other than that, times this k of k, and this capital K with respect to small k, where small k is defined as being the sine of the half initial displacement value. This thing right here is called the complete elliptic integral of the first kind. And we want to implement this thing right here into Python because we can just import mathematics to kind of get stuff like pi in there and also square roots. So that's easy. So this first part is really easy. But what we want to do is we want to approximate this son of a gun that we have derived here as being its amazing series representation that I just love. Okay, it's very dear to my heart. And we want to implement this. So let us go into the series representation and see what we actually have. This was my WhatsApp in the background. I'm terribly sorry about that. So what we have is pi over 2. This is easy, but times an infinite summation of quotient of double factorials squared times k to the 2nth power. I mean, k is just a sine wave, okay, initial displacement. This is easy. We can implement this using just the maths library over on Python, but here comes a problem in. We have this double factorial. So we need to implement a double factorial in some way, which is really not too hard because we can just do this iteratively. Okay, we can go not up until infinity. Here we can say, okay, let us have a sum which is bounded between 0 and let's say I, okay, and I is going to be the degree of approximation. And then we can go through the algorithm. Then we need to find out what the double factorials actually are, and we are going to implement this into the summation iteration that we are going to have here in Python. It's going to be actually really easy. What I'm not going to do this time is I'm not going to define myself a double factorial function in before, because this actually causes some problems. If we just compute like the numerator and the denominator separately all the time, we're going to have the problem that those numbers up here and down here are going to grow rather large, and then our computer is going to run into some problems. Okay, it just can't compute numbers anymore. Hence what we are going to do is we are going to compute each and every iteration one after another, and hence we are going to end up with an easy to compute float value, and this is way easier to be done. So yeah, this is what we are going to do. We are just going to implement a loop into a loop. It's just going to be some 4 loops that we are going to go through, and yeah, we're going to make use of the math library overall. So this was a little overview, and now we're going to dive into Python and see what it has in stock for us. Alright, let us dive into the main meat of the video. We would like to implement our elliptic integral, and for this we are going to import the math library at first, because this is actually quite important to get ourselves pi and the like. If we wouldn't have that, then we would need to approximate pi, which is going to be quite a mess. But that would be a fun exercise. I'm leaving this as an exercise to the viewer, as well as the square root. But the square root is easy to implement because, you know, just to the 1/2 power, which is really easy. So we are going to import the math library. And at first we want to have some inputs, because we want to actually regulate with our program what the gravitational acceleration is, what the length of the string is, etc. So what were all the important parameters? So we are going to have 4 inputs overall. One for the length of the pendulum, we want to have the gravitational acceleration, which we want to put in. Then we want to put in the initial displacement, and also we want to put in what our degree of approximation is actually going to be, so the upper bound I that we had before. So let's start with this. Now that we are done with that, we can go ahead and define ourselves the elliptic integral, because this is the only hard thing that we really need to implement into this whole algorithm. Other than that, we can just output at the end our solution to this whole thing. So what we want to do is we want to print, okay, let's say we have a little dialogue here, period time is, or just period time t equals 2, okay, and then we are going to have the solution to this whole thing. What we need is, okay, we need a factor of 4 terms, and then we need math.square root. And in the math.square root, what did we have? We had L divided by G, so we are going to have L divided by our G. Okay, and we need to multiply all of this by our elliptic integral. We are just going to call it elliptic. And let us think about what elliptic actually is. I mean, this has been denoted as k of k, so we need some parameter k in there, which is going to be the input, so like the argument k, the parameterization. But also what we need is the degree of approximation, so the upper bound for our summation, because we can compute an infinite series using Python. I think that doesn't work out. So we need 2 inputs, that's a multivariable function. We need the degree of approximation, and we actually need the k. But k is the wrong notation here. What we need is phi. I was still thinking in terms of k of k, but we are going to plug in our initial displacement phi into there. So that's an elliptic function, and now we can start defining ourselves elliptic of n, k. So what I would like to do at first is to redefine what our k is that we are going to put into there. So k, we are going to give it a new name, namely k is the input in our elliptic integral, which is going to be the sine of the half value of the initial displacement. Meaning if we were to put phi naught into our function elliptic, what we want to have is math.sin. And obviously what we want to have is just the half value of this whole thing. So what we want to have is just k over 2, because k was our initial input and we are redefining it. Now here's something that absolutely broke me when I tried to implement this algorithm the first time around. Namely, if we just leave it be how it is right now, we are going to run into big problems here on our argument of the sine, because sine is actually not working with degrees in Python. It's working with radians. This is something that I did not knew initially, and And it threw me off because I tried to run my algorithm and it just gave me huge problems. It was really annoying. I was off by a few decimal places all the time. I was thinking, what the hell is going on? Why is it so weird? And it just has to do with the fact that Python is dealing on the sine function here in the math library with radians instead of degrees. So we need to get creative and turn our degrees into radians, because the phi naught that we put in initially is in degrees, obviously. For example, 10 degrees or 50 degrees. So to do this, we are just going to take a look at the regular change of units, you could say, from degrees to radians. Meaning what we need to do is we need to multiply our k in here with pi over 180 degrees, you could say. And if we multiply it with this, okay, math.pi is going to be just our regular number pi. And then we are going to have down there divided by 2 times 180. 2 times 180 is going to turn into 360. And this actually already does the job. Also what we need is a summation that we are going to stack up one after another. This is going to be the iterative process and we need a point to start. And the point to start that we are going to choose is s being equal to 1. This is going to be our summation. I'm going to start at 1 because this way we can get rid of the 0th iteration of the whole thing. Now that we are done with the basics, we can go ahead and get started with the loops. So what we need at first is basically just a loop giving us each consecutive iteration in our summation. So for I in range, okay, and for reasons that will become apparent in a minute, we are going to let the range start at 0. This just makes matters way easier with the double factorial that we need to implement as a quotient in there. This is just going to make matters way easier. Trust me on this. It took some trying around to get everything to work. So from 0 up until, I mean, we want to get to the nth iteration of the summation, but the range only goes to n minus 1, so we need to add a 1 to it. So to n plus 1. Now also obviously we want to get ourselves a product, which is a quotient of double factorial, so we need to define ourselves a variable which is going to represent the product which we are going to stack up one after another. We are just going to call it p for product, starting at 1. Not at 0, because then the product would trivially just be 0. Now here comes the hardest part. This is the loop inside of the loop, which is going to represent the double factorial. And once again, we need a loop, so it would be a good start to say for j in range, let's say, what is the range exactly? I mean, we want to make this a threefold thing, because good thing is our range can actually go up by 2 each and every iteration. So we are going to say that the step size of the range is going to be 2. So if our range started at 1, for example, then we would go up to 1 and then 3 and then 5 and then 7 and so on. Also our product is going to look as follows. We are going to deal with the upper bound in a second. Our product is going to look as follows. We are going to multiply, not add, I'm terribly sorry. We are going to multiply to our product. I mean, what do we want to have all the time? I mean, what we want to have is just j at the top divided by, okay, and what we have down there? I mean, think back. Up at the top we had 2k or 2n minus 1 double factorial, and down there we had 2n minus, no, just 2n double factorial. I'm sorry about that. Meaning from 2n minus 1 to 2n we need to add a plus 1. So we have j plus 1 down there in our denominator. We can just use the variable j right here because we actually have this step size thing already given by our range function, okay, because we are increasing our steps by 2 all the time, which gets rid of those 2n minus 1 and 2n arguments that we would have normally in our double factorial. Now what is the upper bound of our innermost loop exactly? This is the hardest part about this whole thing actually. So our upper bound must be of the form 2 times something plus 1, because what we have in our double factorial is on the top something of the form 2 times k minus 1. We need a plus 1 here because our range is starting at 0, okay? This compensates for the other one that we have too much basically up here in the upper bound. So we need to have 2 times, and what is the something exactly? Obviously it's going to be I, because I is going to be basically the upper bound for each and every consecutive iteration. So 2 times I plus 1, but we can just leave it there, because if we leave it at plus 1, then our upper bound of the range is going to subtract 1 from it. So we need to add another 1 to this whole thing. And this basically should settle what our loop is doing. And now, on the outermost loop, we need to stack up our s all the time, because this is the point of having this finite summation here. So we need to add to our s what? Each and every iteration. I mean, what we had is, if you think back to the argument in our infinite series, we had some argument and the whole thing squared basically. Also, we multiplied this whole thing by k to the 2nth power. Okay, k, yeah, it's called k here, I was thinking about that, to the, okay, what do we have exactly? I mean, if we just have 2 times I, we would run into problems, because the lower bound is defined as being 0 for our I, meaning we need to add a 1 to it, such that we are at the right iteration all the time. Okay, because we already were done with the 0th iteration originally, our sum was defined as being 1 at first, and now if we were to have k to the 0th times 2 power, we would be at the 0th iteration yet again, which would be a problem. We would kind of not be at the actual spot of our summation. Meaning what we need to do is we need to say we have 2 terms, and then we have just I plus 1. We are going to add a 1 to our I. And what do we have exactly inside of those parentheses? I mean, obviously, we have just our p, which is our product. And this should actually do the trick, if I'm not mistaken. And now what we are going to return is just, and we are going to return a float value, because we want to have decimal places, float of, okay, what was it exactly? We had power over 2 times our summation. This is going to give us the complete elliptic integral of the first kind approximation. So math.pi over 2, and all of this times our summation s. And I hope this does do the trick. Let us try it out. I have done goofed. Okay, this needs a bit of debugging. Our n right here needs to be an integer, which does make sense, okay, because it can only be it can be a fractal upper bound of our summation. So let's try it out again. Now it's working. Okay, it's taking a while. Took approximately 4 seconds to get everything done, but for an initial displacement of 20 degrees and an approximation degree of 10,000, we're going to get a period time of 2.02145, etc. And this is for a string length of 1 meter, which is quite a long string if you ask me, and also gravitational acceleration for mid-Europe, basically. Okay, let's see if this actually works. Okay, if we compare it to Wolfram Alpha, for example, or some software that I can find online using a Google search. Give me a second. So I found this one right here, and I put in our initial displacement, string length of 1 meter and 9.81 as the gravitational acceleration, and it's going to spit out 2.02145, and let's see if this is the right one. Yes, it did work out nicely. And let's compare it with Wolfram Alpha really quick. And Wolfram Alpha spit out the same value. On the Wolfram language, it's being defined like this. So in normal case, you have elliptic k and brackets, and then you are going to have an argument of m in there, which is being defined as k squared. So you actually need to put your value in like this, but also this k is being defined as being the half value, so you need to put in 10 degrees in there. So yeah, this does work out too. I'm pretty glad that we got this to work. Yeah, this has been the complete elliptic integral of the first kind. But before we actually end the video, don't forget to check out today's sponsor Wondershare, who are kind enough to sponsor yet another video here on this channel. Namely, they just now released their new document cloud software, which is going to make handling of PDF files really easy. It's a big cloud where you can upload your PDF files, store them, and you can actually manage document cloud using PDF Element Pro, which is really cool if you ask me. I'm using this program all the time here on my operating system. If you're an avid student these days, you might have a lot of PDF files lying around because, you know, lecture notes and the like. And if you have troubles organizing all your lecture notes, etc., or your PDF documents, then Document Cloud could be the perfect fit for you. Also, if you're looking for a solution to get digital signatures from one person to another, then Document Cloud could also be something that you could benefit from. Like mentioned before, Document Cloud is going to give you easy access to a cloud storage database for your PDF files. If you want to, for example, upload a PDF file, all you need to do is click on Upload Files and select the PDF file of your choice. Once you're done uploading, you are going to find your very document here in this little overview window. Best thing is, Document Cloud is browser-based, meaning you can access your documents from anywhere. Each and every device, doesn't matter if you're on Apple, if you're on the go with your mobile phone, or if you're on a regular desktop, you can access all of your documents on one single page. If you want to download document, just click on the three little dots right here and click on download. One other option that's extremely nice to have is a signature option, and in this day and age electronic signatures are really important. And if you're like me and have a lot of sponsors, you want a lot of documents to be signed and sent back to you. So what you're going to do is you can request a signature. For example, you have a certain invoice, then you're going to initiate requesting a signature, send this document to the other person. He's going to receive an email notification with the email attached to the signature request. He's going to sign the document and et voila, you are done. You're going to receive the signed version back to your Document Cloud account. And the best thing is, with Wondershare's release of the brand new PDF Element Pro 8, you actually can combine Document Cloud and PDF Element Pro, which is really handy. If you want to share a document, you're going to click on the three dots up here, you're going to share it to the Wondershare Cloud. Upload your documents and you're going to be done. You can do the same thing with signatures too. So if this feels like it's something for you, make sure to check out the link at the top of the description. With it you are going to get free access to Document Cloud. You can try it out for free actually, and you can also try out PDF Element Pro for free, so you can combine both of those and see how it actually pans out, how they work together, which is really good. And also you can get 50% of Document Cloud by just using the second link at the top of the description. So definitely check it out and support the channel this way. It's really worth it. They are producing some high quality software. I really love the Wondershare products. They are really such a bliss to work with. If you enjoyed this video, then please like, subscribe, recommend, channel like. Don't forget to watch the rest of the Advent calendar. You can find the playlist down there in the description. And up until the next video, I wish you guys a flammable day. Ciao!